Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. Today is part 5 of building the world's fanciest Damascus pizza cutter. I'll give you a quick rundown on what we did in the first 4 parts. We have a complex mosaic Damascus blade using a trapezoid swaging die and an explosion edge bar. We have a twisted W's tang blade holder. We're calling it Isaiah. It's named after our videographer. We have mosaic Damascus W's buttons that are holding it together. We've got a bronze ball end S guard, a fossilized walrus ivory spacer, and a Tasmanian blackwood handle. So with that, let's thank today's sponsor. And today's sponsor is Skillshare, the online learning community with thousands of courses about just about anything you could possibly want to know. We've got a link for them in the description, and we'll talk about them more later on. But with that, let's jump back into the video. Okay, so where we're at now is we've got to remove a just crap ton of material off of the handle block here. We're gonna start off by popping this thing all apart and then taking this to the bandsaw and roughing in our profile. So now that we've got this roughed in, I'm gonna go ahead and coat the tang area in wax and then fill up the handle with epoxy. It's not a full glue up, we're just bedding the tang. And because I'm coating it in wax, we'll be able to take it apart later on, and just that means that as we're taking it apart and putting it back together, it's gonna be a lot easier. It's gonna go back in the exact same place. There won't be any movement to it, and that's gonna be really important because one of the next steps in the handle process is gonna be putting some twisted 24 karat gold wire in there, which means we're going to be having to pop this thing apart and put it back together. We'll get to that later on. For now, we're going to get this tang bedded. So this is a little trick that I came up with because I didn't at one point have a clamp long enough to glue up an entire blade, so I clamped the blade in a vise and then used the back of the vise to clamp the whole thing together as kind of a reference point, and it ended up working really well, and I've used it quite a bit since then. Just a handy trick if you don't have a clamp that's quite long enough but you need to clamp up a hidden tang. This works pretty good. All right, and the glue is dried now. Let's see if we have enough wax in there without heat. Yep, perfect. Nice, awesome. And that means that now this is gonna go back on in the exact same spot. It doesn't wiggle at all, it's perfect. And same thing with that. We might have to make ourselves a little indexing pin for this one. This spacer still has a little bit of play to it. It'll move back and forth like that. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and just build a quick indexing pin here. I'm just gonna drill a hole and pop that pin in. Be super easy, and then I'll just throw it under the drill press, drill through with a 1/16 inch bit, and then make a 1/16 inch indexing pin to go in there. this is what's up. I just did a little buff test on this just to see where the scratches were, where the actual lines are. It kind of gives a more whole picture of what's going on. And what I can tell now is that my facet line on the back of the guard is looking awesome. However, the front is a little bit washed out, so I'm gonna tune that in with a hand file, and then I'm gonna have to go ahead and just hand finish out everything on here. The belts that I have, just for the way that I'm doing this, just aren't gonna work. I'm gonna have to hand finish it out, which is not a big deal. It gives a lot more control. But for now, I'm gonna start hand filing in this facet right here. Alright, so we've got the handle all sanded up, and it's now time to work on the spacer. I'm gonna go ahead and carve a fuller, not all the way around. I'm gonna do 2 fullers, kind of like that. And same thing here, where we're gonna have that termination. So it's not gonna come and destroy the crest of that ridge. And then the other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna round over the top of the handle here. I'm going to make it kind of flow in so that the spacer is standing proud of it by a little bit, and that'll just kind of help break up the handle a little bit, and it'll make the transition of where the gold wire that I'm going to inlay along this crest, this ridge line, I'll make it flow a little bit better with the rest of the piece. So let's go ahead and take a chainsaw file to this puppy and see how it works out. Alright, well, we've got the guard all polished up. It's looking darned shiny. We've got the fullers carved into the spacer, and it is shiny as well. That Tasmanian Blackwood handle is at about 1,000 grit, and so it's looking pretty good. It's not quite done yet. We're gonna take it up to probably 2,000 grit and then buff it, so it will be shiny as well. But we're not gonna carve out a little recess in the butt of the handle where we're gonna fit in a fossilized walrus ivory butt plate, and that's gonna be kind of the finial, the end where the gold wire that's gonna run along this ridge line here is gonna sit, and it's gonna look like it's kind of holding that in. That gold wire has to have a good transition at the end, otherwise it looks really incomplete, and so this is gonna be a good thing to fit that bill, make it look real nice. Let's head upstairs to the jewelry studio. All right, we've got the butt cap, the rear inlay fit up now. It looks really, really nice. I'm super happy that I got a chance to do this. My friend Oliver Goldschmidt, who's an amazing bladesmith over in Italy, does a really good job, and he has a style very similar to this, and so I got some inspiration there on how to finish out the end of this piece. My next step is gonna be playing with a little bit of 24 karat gold. I'm first going to twist my gold wire. I'm then going to carve out a notch along the ridge line of this handle, and then I'm gonna inlay that gold into the handle here. It should look really, really nice. I think it's gonna fit in really well with the rest of the piece and add a little bit of spice to it as well. Let's go ahead and play with some stupid expensive material. So what I've got here is 2 feet of 24 gauge, which is 20 thou thick, 24 karat gold wire. Now, right now it's quarter hard material, which is not ideal. We want this to be dead soft for twisting. And so I'm gonna take it out like this, run the torch along it and anneal the whole thing and hopefully not melt any of it. All right, that softened right up, which is awesome. I can now fold it in half like this. All right, and now I can hook my little twisting thing on there. And we are good. Looks like we're sitting pretty at about 38.5 thou thick. Means we're gonna carve about a 1mm wide groove, a little bit under actually, and inlay this gold wire into the handle. The handle is looking really, 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 really nice. This stuff polished up so well, I'm amazed. The handle's ready for gold. We've got that channel carved in there, which is looking really nice as well. But while I'm gonna be working on more handle stuff, I'm gonna get started on etching the blade, just because it's almost the end of the day right now, and I want that blade to get fully etched so I can leave it in a cold, instant coffee soak overnight to get a really, really nice contrasting dark etch on it. All right, I've got all my pieces ready to rock and roll. We've got our instant coffee here that we're gonna do our contrasting etch in. So I just need to figure out a good way to get this thing all rigged up on this iron wire. So now that we've got those pieces coffee etching, we're gonna go upstairs and get the gold stuck into the handle. Well, I'm very excited. This thing came out so freaking good. I'm just absolutely thrilled. It just came out pretty much exactly how I imagined it in my head, which is always such a fun feeling to have the vision for it and then to be able to fulfill that through the art of crafting things. Just such a good time. The Mosaic Damascus blade came out so cool. We've got that trapezoid feather pattern running in the core of it, and then kind of an explosion bar running around the outside, which just looks amazing. I'm so happy. We've got our buttons here that are made out of kind of an S-style W's, and then twisted W's for the Tang/Isaiah. I did my first ever ball end guard on this as well, in that kind of S-guard shape with that sweet transition, with the walrus ivory spacer with those kind of dual fullers running around it. We then got the Tasmanian blackwood handle, which is just such a beautiful wood with a lot of movement to it. When you move it back and forth, it catches the light and plays with it in different ways, which is so fun. And then my first time doing a 24 karat gold wire inlay into an actual handle piece, not in a transition area, but rather in a ridge line in a place where I usually do a facet. And then my first ever inlay as well of that little bit of walrus ivory there that just kind of brings together the end of the piece and seals in that gold wire in kind of a satisfying way. So just a fun project to think through, figure out how everything was gonna work out well, and I'm thrilled with how it came out. But before we end it, let's thank today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of videos on anything you could possibly want to learn, from painting to videography to drawing to productivity. The course that I'd like to recommend to you guys today is the Masterclass on Productivity by Ali Abdal. He does a whole lot of stuff. I just dropped my phone. Very productive of me. He has a masterclass on productivity, which is just a wonderful way to learn how to do a bunch of different things very well, and to get rid of the myth of I don't have time, which is what a lot of us say because we have very busy lives. But this is an excellent resource for learning how to manage all that well and stay good at a lot of different things. Skillshare is a platform full of other creative people who are looking to invest in themselves just like you, which is why we're so excited to announce that Skillshare is going to be offering 2 months of premium membership absolutely free for the first 1,000 of you that click the link in the description, and it's just about $10 a month after that, which is really an excellent investment into yourself if you want to learn and make yourself just better all around. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring today's episode, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.